You want to empower black people in the workplace? You want to fight back against racism? Democratize the workplace and give everybody an equal say. Let the black worker have more than just a boss that they have to listen to in a rigid hierarchy. Give the black worker direct control over their labor. You really want to fight back against this stuff? You could argue that inherent hierarchy is unfair to the black workers and the white workers who have the boss lording over them. That's one way to fight back against it. You want to do that? Oh, you don't want to do that. Interesting. I mean, listen, there's a disproportionate effect on black people and on minorities with our low minimum wage. Those communities are more impacted by the low minimum wage than white communities, disproportionately speaking. You want to address that? How about the lack of healthcare? That's a huge problem in communities of color. A single-payer healthcare system helps fight back against that. Bro. As opposed to, again, if it's an individual interpersonal problem, then she's not talking about new laws that need to be passed. She's not talking about structural, systemic problems that we just outlined. She's focusing on, hey, just feel like shit for being white and always, have white guilt and always check yourself and monitor your privilege. That's really what the idea is. That's the idea. And it's so easy for corporations to say, yeah, she got it. She got it. That's what it is. It's all individual level. You all have to monitor your thoughts nonstop. We'll have some diversity training and that'll be it.
Kyle, you can't address the system without addressing the people who create the system and the people in power who are participating in the system. You can't address the system by giving this impression that the system is a computerized machine. People create the system. There's people that are involved in the system, and these people bring biases in that are implicit biases against black people, and sometimes they're not aware of it. And you've mentioned it. You mentioned a lot of things concerning implicit bias. For instance, the resume callbacks, where one resume has a black sounding name, the other one has a white sounding name. They have equal qualifications, and the black sounding name gets ignored. You mentioned the experiment with the hands, where there's a black hand selling a product and there's a white hand selling a product, and the white hand is more favored on the test because people say, which one do you prefer? Which hand do you prefer? And they prefer the white hand. You mentioned 6 years ago that there was a social experiment of a black guy staging stealing a car, and a black guy. I think it was stealing a car, yeah. A black guy was staging stealing a car, which is pretend, and then a white guy did the same thing, and they were more aggressive towards the black person. You mentioned all these things. Now, these things are going to affect the criminal justice system. You can't just end the drug war. That's not going to completely erase the gap of arrest rates towards blacks. The bottom line is that blacks are perceived as more suspicious. They're perceived as more threatening. So Robin Diangelo is talking about those things. Okay, now in the workplace, how does that relate to criminal justice? It could, maybe it doesn't relate to criminal justice, but there's also other racial remarks that you can make. Now, if it comes to the workplace, racial attitudes are going to play a role in hiring, and promoting, and paying. So again, just adding, making it a more livable wage for everybody is not going to erase the racism in these institutions, because, again, that doesn't address promotions, that doesn't address hiring. A minimum wage policy is not going to address hiring. Maybe your solution is affirmative action. I don't know. But my point is that these attitudes in the corporate workplace exist. So Robin Diangelo, basically what she's saying is that most whites have implicit biases. I don't necessarily think that she uses the word racist. Maybe she does. But the bottom line is that that's what it is. So I think you gotta consider all those things.